Inside nearly every cell in your body is a molecular clock, a set of interlocked gene expression loops that cycle with a period of approximately 24 hours. These clocks coordinate when your heart pumps most efficiently, when your liver metabolizes drugs, when your immune system is most active, when you should sleep, and when your brain performs at peak cognitive capacity. Disrupting these clocks, through irregular sleep timing, light exposure at the wrong times, or mistimed eating, is not merely inconvenient. Research now links chronic circadian misalignment to significantly elevated risks of obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and depression. The good news: circadian biology is among the most responsive physiological systems to behavioral habits. You can entrain it, and the science shows you exactly how. The 2017 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to Jeffrey Hall, Michael Rosbash, and Michael Young for discovering the molecular mechanisms controlling circadian rhythms. This recognition cemented circadian biology as one of the central organizing principles of human physiology. What their work revealed, and what subsequent research has elaborated, is that your master clock in the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus coordinates all peripheral clocks throughout the body. Light is the dominant Zeitgeber, the time giver, that synchronizes this master clock. But food timing, exercise timing, and temperature cues also act as powerful entraining signals. Deliberately managing these Zeitgebers is what circadian hacking actually means. Today's research draws from the Nobel Prize-winning molecular biology of circadian rhythms and its translation into human behavioral studies. The sources represent both the foundational science of circadian timekeeping and the applied research on how behavioral habits can entrain or disrupt these systems in real-world conditions. Modern life systematically attacks circadian rhythms from multiple directions simultaneously. Artificial light at night suppresses melatonin and delays sleep timing. Irregular sleep schedules, sleeping late on weekends and waking early on weekdays, create what researchers call social jet lag, a chronic mismatch between biological and social time. Eating at irregular or late hours sends conflicting time signals to peripheral clocks in the liver, gut, and metabolic organs. Shift work, which affects approximately 20% of the workforce, has been classified as a probable carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Even non-shift workers experience significant circadian disruption that accumulates health consequences over years and decades. The most pervasive myth about sleep and circadian health is that you can catch up on sleep on weekends, that the biological debt accumulated during the week is simply repaid by sleeping in on Saturday and Sunday. The research is unambiguous. You cannot fully reverse circadian misalignment through weekend recovery sleep. Kenneth Wright at the University of Colorado showed that catch-up sleep does not reverse metabolic consequences of sleep restriction. And social jet lag research by Till Renneberg demonstrates that shifting your sleep timing by 2 or more hours on weekends creates a biological state equivalent to flying across 2 time zones every single week. The circadian system rewards consistency, not recovery. Kenneth Wright Jr. and colleagues at the University of Colorado conducted a study comparing the circadian rhythms of people living in modern environments with artificial light to those camping under natural light exposure for 1 week. After just 1 week of natural light exposure, no artificial light after sunset, participants' internal clocks shifted to align precisely with the solar day. Melatonin onset moved nearly 2 hours earlier, sleep timing normalized, and circadian amplitude increased. The study demonstrated that artificial light is the primary driver of delayed circadian phase in modern populations, and that the correction requires remarkably little intervention once you control light exposure appropriately. The master clock in your suprachiasmatic nucleus receives direct input from intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells that contain melanopsin, a photopigment maximally sensitive to short-wavelength blue light in the 480 nanometer range. This is why blue light-enriched artificial lighting at night is particularly disruptive to circadian timing. LED screens, energy-efficient bulbs, and smartphones all emit substantial blue light that potently suppresses melatonin and delays sleep onset. Research shows that 2 hours of evening blue light exposure can suppress melatonin by up to 50% and delay sleep onset by 1 to 2 hours, a dose that most people receive routinely from their evening screen time. Ellen Stothard and colleagues at the University of Colorado published findings on the weekend light exposure patterns that produce social jet lag. Participants who maintained consistent light exposure schedules 7 days per week showed minimal circadian misalignment. Those who stayed indoors during the weekend with artificial light and slept later showed significant circadian delay that persisted into the following workweek, producing the characteristic difficulty waking on Monday mornings that most adults recognize. The practical implication is that weekends are not recovery opportunities for circadian health. They are high-risk windows for circadian disruption that determine how you feel for the first half of every working week. Circadian entrainment through deliberate behavioral habits follows a predictable timeline. The speed of re-entrainment depends on the strength of the Zeitgeber signals you're providing. Light is the fastest-acting cue. Consistent morning light exposure produces measurable phase advances within 3 to 5 days. Food timing takes 1 to 2 weeks to shift peripheral clocks. Exercise timing similarly requires 1 to 2 weeks of consistency to produce stable phase shifts. The good news is that the circadian system is highly responsive. You don't need months of perfect behavior to see meaningful results. Comparing people with well-entrained circadian rhythms to those with chronic circadian disruption reveals health outcome differences that span virtually every major organ system. The contrast is particularly stark for metabolic health, sleep quality, and cognitive performance, 3 domains with direct day-to-day quality of life implications. These differences are not trivial. The effect sizes in circadian disruption studies rival those seen for major modifiable risk factors like smoking and physical inactivity. The evidence-based circadian hacking framework targets the 4 most impactful Zeitgeber levers. First, morning light. Get bright outdoor light within 30 minutes of waking. This is the single most powerful circadian anchor. Second, evening light reduction. Avoid blue light after 9 p.m. or wear blue light blocking glasses. Third, consistent sleep-wake timing. Same wake time 7 days per week, within 30 minutes. Fourth, food timing. Complete your last meal at least 2 hours before sleep, and maintain a consistent eating window daily. These 4 interventions address the dominant Zeitgebers and are sufficient to produce robust circadian alignment for most people. The circadian habit loop is unique in that it is self-reinforcing once established. When your sleep timing is consistent, you wake feeling rested, which makes it easier to maintain the morning light habit, which reinforces the circadian anchor, which makes your next night's sleep better. Disruption loops run in reverse. One late night delays the next night's onset, which leads to grogginess, which tempts another late bedtime. Understanding this positive feedback dynamic helps explain why consistency, even imperfect consistency, is far more valuable than periodic heroic effort followed by circadian chaos. Here are 5 specific actions to begin re-entraining your circadian rhythm this week. Set a single consistent wake time and honor it for at least 14 days, including weekends. Step outside within 30 minutes of waking, even for 5 to 10 minutes of bright natural light. After 9 p.m. tonight, dim all household lights and put your phone in night mode or use blue light blocking glasses. Eat your last meal at least 2 hours before your target sleep time. And if you currently use caffeine after 2 p.m., eliminate it. Caffeine has a 5 to 7 hour half-life and delays adenosine accumulation, which is your primary sleep pressure signal. The most common circadian disruption moments are weekend mornings and late-night screen use. Both are high-inertia behaviors embedded in social and recreational patterns that feel rewarding in the moment but extract circadian costs throughout the following week. Pre-planning specific responses to these moments dramatically improves circadian consistency without requiring willpower in the moment. Circadian rhythms are not just about sleep. They coordinate every physiological process in your body on a 24-hour cycle. Modern artificial light, irregular sleep timing, and mistimed eating create chronic circadian misalignment linked to obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. The interventions are evidence-based and accessible. Consistent wake time, morning bright light, evening blue light reduction, and consistent meal timing. 1 week of these habits produces measurable improvements in melatonin timing and sleep quality. The circadian system rewards consistency above all else. Tomorrow morning, go outside within 30 minutes of waking. 5 minutes of real daylight beats 2 hours of screen light at resetting your clock. Subscribe to Habits, backed by science. We explain the peer-reviewed research behind the habits that change how you feel every day. Your biological clock is waiting to be set.